Hi friends! So I ordered this mineral paper off of Amazon and it showed up last night and I wanted to do a little tryout on video. This is my first impression. I've never tried mineral paper before. I saw another artist on YouTube using it with their acrylic inks, and I've been dabbling back into my acrylic inks recently, so I thought it looked really cool. It had a really cool effect on this mineral paper. So I bought a small little pad of it on Amazon. I believe it was about $7. I will leave the link and how much it costs below. Apparently it's made from rocks. I was reading, let me see if there's any information anywhere else on this. Made from calcium carbonate. It's got a very interesting texture. It shows like it's great for a ton of different mediums. Really just want to test out acrylic inks to start. Maybe I will pull out some other mediums. I'm not quite sure. The size I got was 6x8 and it comes with 20 sheets. So right off the jump, this is incredibly thin. It feels almost thinner than printer paper, and it has a plasticky feel to it. I've never tried, what's that paper? Yupo paper for alcohol inks. I'm curious if they're similar in that way. But yeah, it has a very, very smooth, zero like ridges or bumps. Very smooth, very thin consistency. So this will be interesting. When I use acrylic inks, I typically like to just watch them flow across the paper. I do that with watercolor too. I really just like seeing, specifically acrylic inks, they kind of explode when you add them to water. So I want to give it a go on this paper. So let me gather my inks and I'll be right back. Okay, so I gathered up some of my acrylic inks. I have some Bombays from Dr. P.H. Martin. I have Daler Rowney Antelope Brown. I got this in a haul on another video, and I've been pulling it out recently. I love what this color does with other colors, the way it interacts and mutes and gives them like this earthy tone. It's a really unique shade. I like that one a lot. I also have some of my Liquitex acrylic inks. These ones are more transparent, I believe. Yeah, this one says transparent raw sienna. This one's transparent burnt umber. And then this one is transparent, hold on. This one's transparent burnt sienna and this one's transparent burnt umber. These three came in a pack, and these are great to have, again, to help give, my acrylic ink some earthiness, because colors like this can be very bright. And yeah, those are the three brands. Oh, I also have this copper. I want to test it with metallics. This one's a little bit thicker. I have to kind of mix this one up. Let me get my normal, this one I always go for, my silver round, silver black velvet. I'm going to start by getting the paper wet and dropping in the acrylic ink on it first. Let me see actually how well it holds water. It doesn't feel like it's seeping through. It looks like it's going to. This is so bizarre. It looks like it's going to seep right through the backside. Let me grab my India ink and aqua and just drop some of that in. Whoa. Wow, that is really cool. I always get excited when I watch acrylic ink hit water. But with watercolor paper, because it's got some texture to it, it just looks it bleeds out a little differently. Where with this, it was so smooth and so immediate. Let me add it with this color. Do a little drop of yellow ochre, maybe a couple drops. Very cool. Just swirl those around a little bit. Take another circle and I'm going to let them touch and see how well they flow down. Very cool. Okay, let me take another ink. I'm just going to drop it directly on the page. And then I'm going to give it the full effect with, I'm doing, dry, wet on dry. Very smooth. Whoa. Let those touch. Seems like it's already dried on the edge. So that makes sense because this paper does feel very smooth and less porous. It looks like it's drying on the edges a lot quicker than, say, a cold pressed watercolor paper would. I'm going to throw some salt in here. I like to add salt texture a lot. If you've seen my videos, you know that. I'm just curious how it will interact. Like, will it do anything? Will it not? It almost looks like, kind of looks like you're looking at bacteria under a microscope, like some sort of fungus or mold. But that's cool. I like it. I unfortunately don't have white. I just put in an order on Blick for some other acrylic inks. Sennelier had a sale on theirs. They were like half off. Maybe I'll link them if they're still available when I post this for sale. And in that order, I got some pastel colors. I got like a Naples yellow. I got a white because I desperately needed one. I have this white. I have this Bombay white, but it is very dried up. And I looked up to see if I could try to revive it, and I don't think you can. Please excuse if you see any gnats. That's disgusting. We have a major plant gnat fungus situation in our home right now, and I am trying to pull out all the stops to get rid of them, and they are just a real pain to get rid of. It's like impossible. Let me move this around. Let that drip. I don't really have a plan. I just wanted to play around with it, and then after I play with some colors on this paper, maybe I'll try to do like an abstract landscape with another piece. Very cool. So it seems like, oh, I don't know if you can see this, but the way it's drying the rings it's giving, I don't even know if it's picking up. Maybe I should wait till it's dry to show you. But it looks like it's drying quickly, almost like when you see a alcohol ink on that Yupo paper. Yupo. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I've never bought it. And I actually wonder, I do have some alcohol inks. I wonder if I can try it on here, because with regular paper, it will seep right through the backside. I wonder if it'll do that with that. Hold on, let me get them. Okay, so I gathered some of my alcohol inks, and if you're wondering why does she have alcohol inks but doesn't have like the alcohol ink paper, it's because, oh, these are so dusty. It's because I, for a while, was making clay earrings, and I would use these for some really cool like tie-dye effects. I have a shop actually on Etsy. I can link it if you're interested. I haven't made earrings in a while, but they are super fun, and these would give really cool effects. So I have a bunch of colors. Let's see, I have the Tim Holtz Ranger, a lot of the Ranger colors, because they dried really cool. And then when you baked them on polymer clay in the oven, they would change color and they looked epic. My memory card ran out of space, so I had to replace it. Anyway, I'm going to use this moss color and try it with, I have a thing of rubbing alcohol right here. I actually wanted to dab a little bit of this onto the acrylic ink and see what kind of effect I get. Because I do this on, oh, that's super cool. I do this on watercolor paper sometimes, but it seeps right through the backside. So it's gonna be curious to see, I'm curious to see when this dries what it looks like on the backside. I obviously don't want to flip it right now because I don't want it to spill everywhere. So let me shake this up. I also have these like metallic colors. The Pinata is a brand Jacquard, the Pinata alcohol inks. So shake this up. It's making some really cool crystallization effects right here where I put that salt down. Oh my goodness, it's on there tight. So let me, ooh. Looks like it's seeping through, but maybe I'm wrong. I could even try spraying this and see what it looks like. I don't want to go too hard. This comes out kind of rough. Ah. Interesting. Let me do a different color. These are so dusty. It's been a while since I've touched them. They have cat hair all over them, as per usual. It's a different color. Let's see here. I need to get my, I got this out and forgot it. This really does feel like a science project. I have my little, what are these droppers called? And these look like little incubating dishes. Whoa, that was hard to say. And they look like little bacteria under a microscope. I'm gonna go ahead just for fun, throw some watercolor on here really quick. Let me get my palette, see how those look on here. Go in with my indigo. Okay, interesting. It seems to like reject it almost and pull back up together. Add some water and drop some in, do a little wet on wet here. Let me go for a color that I know has a lot of granulation and tends to spread out a lot. This is Cascade Green. I just want to take its claims of being, oh, it says waterproof, tear resistant, and foldable. I didn't do a good job of describing it in the beginning. So water resistant, I could see that because again, it feels plasticky. Although it says it's made from rock. That's interesting. Bright white vellum surface, acid free. Yeah, I don't know, very cool. It's such a unique paper. So I'm gonna let these dry. Actually, I'm gonna help them along. Made a bit of a mess. That's okay. I think they're dry enough that I can look underneath here, at least for the alcohol ink. That one dries fast. Yeah, it didn't seep through. This little part right here is because it bled on the other side, or it leaked over, but I don't know what this is. I think this also leaked off to the backside, but it's not bleeding through, which is super cool. How interesting. I've made a mess of this. So it appears that it does work with, I mean, at least these materials. It leaves very interesting ridges with watercolor. It looks very similar to, again, alcohol ink on that Yupo paper, which is cool. Sometimes that's like a cool effect. I like a lot of texture with my watercolors. It depends on what I'm doing. If I want a really smooth sky or something like that, I definitely wouldn't go for this kind of paper. I would go for 100% cotton cold pressed. If I want to be able to lift, if I want to do all these other things, actually, let me see if I can lift. Oh, let me lift right there pretty dang good. Stains, again, I think it depends on which paint you're using in there. It's staining level. It got some cool like pigment chunks here, and I think that's because of the salt I added, which also gave a pretty cool effect. It's still drying. I'm too lazy to wait for it to dry. I'm not lazy, I'm in too much of a hurry to let it sit here and dry. Yeah, very cool. Okay, bring this back over and I'm gonna get another sheet. If you guys have any experience with this paper, I would love to hear in the comments, like if there's a brand that you prefer or if there's methods This is just me completely going in blind and just taking my materials and playing around. So I have no idea how to actually use this. This is all just some creative play. I'm going to take this oval wash brush and use my acrylic inks to make a very abstract landscape. So the colors I will use today, I think I'm going to go in with some transparent burnt umber. I'm just going to do kind of some lines. This, go in with this aqua color as well, right alongside it. I don't know if you can hear my cat, but she sounds like she's in distress. She is not. She just wants someone to pet her. And I think I'm also gonna add this burnt sienna. I'm laughing because she is so dramatic. It's crazy. Okay. Take my water, fully saturate this brush, which holds a lot of water, and I'm just gonna let it fly. Whoa. That is such a cool effect. I mean, I love what alcohol ink does anyway, but I like how it behaves on paper. But this is really cool. I don't want to overdo it. I kind of want to just let them bleed. But I do want to see how well they spread on this paper, so. There are lines, like it does dry very fast on this paper, so to be aware of that. You don't have the same kind of working time you would have with a watercolor paper at all. I'm gonna take a little bit of my antelope brown and just kind of put it right here. I thought it would spread out more. It's interesting. Not so much. Again, I think just because the water it dries so quickly. If you don't like lines or like the harsh water lines, I don't know if this is the paper for you, unless you just go in once, drop in color, and then don't touch it. This very much leaves a line anywhere you put water on it. This looks very geode-like. That's cool. Very cool, actually. I'm debating whether or not to add some alcohol. I don't know if I want to do that. What I'm going to do is take my script brush and make some like tall trees. Just like really, just more branches than trees actually. I think I'll reuse this burnt umber. Set that right here. Oop. Probably should wait till it's a little bit drier. It's interesting because like seems like it's taking a long time to dry, but in other spots I feel like it dries immediately. So, If you use acrylic inks, I'd love to hear in the comments how you use them. Is it more of a mixed media thing for you? Will you do an entire painting on them? I've seen some people use them very similarly to like watercolors and layer them up and do really thin washes. I've seen other people use them more like in this abstract way. I think I'm gonna let it dry a little bit. Maybe I'll add some salt to this area right here. I really like, oh, maybe I'll add a little copper, but this copper is pretty thick and I don't know if it'll move across the page the way I want it to. So maybe I won't. So let me see. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just drop some in like that. And maybe I'll take my alcohol and encourage it to move a little bit. Whoa. Interesting. I don't know if that's what I wanted to go for because alcohol repels and I don't play around with alcohol very much. So I should have known that. Yeah, it's like, oh, interesting. It's like fully repelling water wherever the alcohol is. Okay, okay. But it's flowing in really cool. I don't know if you can see the way it's just going up into these puddles. I'm gonna let this flow down a little bit more. I really think this is a case of you can really overwork a piece to the point where it doesn't have any sort of vision anymore and it's just a bunch of color blobs. Even with abstract, at least for me. I'm gonna try to flow that over a little bit. Now it just feels very unlandscape-like. I think I went a little too far, overworked it a little too much. And now it's just, I don't know what. So I'm gonna let this one dry and then I think I'm gonna do a second take. I learned some lessons here. I don't think the alcohol is a good idea. I keep thinking it's going to spread out the color. In reality, it's just globbing it together in a repellent sort of way. I still love the way the salt looks. The copper is just flowing and it looks super beautiful. So I think I'm gonna try to drop that in a wet area. And maybe I'll actually use more water when I'm first dispersing the colors, just so I have more working time. I'm gonna let this one dry off to the side and I'm going to do a take 2 on my landscape. Okay, I'm back. It's actually a different day. New nails, woo! And the weather is horrible outside and cloudy, so I have my ring light on. Apologies if the lighting is not very good, but this first little abstract landscape I made dried. Ooh, with the ring light, you can really see the copper. Check that out. Didn't come out quite like I was planning. Not that I really had a plan to go in with anyway, but I was just testing out this paper. No leaking. Again, I think this was because it spilled over. But this turned out pretty cool when it dried. I noticed that initially it absorbed the water fairly quickly. And then if there was a lot of water, it took a very long time to absorb into the paper, or to evaporate, I should say. The salt turned out pretty cool as well. I don't know if the light is picking up how reflective the salt is, but that's very cool. So yeah, I also did go ahead and look up what the difference between Yupo paper, again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, and the mineral paper. And besides the fact that mineral paper is made from calcium carbonate and I believe a couple other ingredients, Yupo paper is 100% synthetic. Also, this is much thinner apparently. So if you were curious, if you have Yupo paper and you're like, I wonder if there's any difference besides what they're made out of, this one is supposed to be thinner. I mean, you can even see the front of this through it. That's how thin it is. Okay, so I wanted to do another landscape now that I've kind of practiced on this page. Again, these are abstract, so I don't really have high expectations, but we will see. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do different colors this time. Maybe I want to stick to cool colors and do more like a beachy ocean type thing. Again, I like to bring in this antelope brown. I feel like it really helps ground things. I'm also going to use my quill brush. So I'm taking my Bombay blue and adding that to the paper. I'm going to go ahead. That was a lot of that blue. That blue is very intense. I'm going to drop in some green. Be able to have it come up a little bit. Or no, this is aqua. Then take a little bit of the green. I don't have a plan, guys. I'm just playing around, which is my favorite thing to do. I try not to take painting and creating too seriously because I feel like the second I try to really get perfection or have an idea in my head come to life exactly how I'm planning it, it almost, I don't know if it ever has, honestly. And then I'm just disappointed and I'm putting more stress on the creative, on the creative process. It's unnecessary. Like, this is just fun. This is just to let things out and have a good time. So that's another reason why I've been really gravitating towards abstract lately. It's just, there's so much freedom in abstract. Not that it's necessarily easier, mind you, in my opinion. I find sometimes it's more difficult than just having a concept and trying that. But yeah, it's very liberating. Let me go ahead and I want to keep some negative space in between the two, the top and bottom. Again, like, this ink dried really quickly right here. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see where I had dragged the ink and it just sucks it in immediately? And I don't know if this would happen. I mean, these are pigment based, I'm almost positive. So I'm not sure if it's just the paper or if it's the acrylic ink, but wow, look at that. That's really cool. I could watch this all day. I want this brown to drag out a little bit. I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit more. I'm gonna pick this up and move it around a little bit and see what we get. It's interesting because color makes such a difference, right? Like, this first landscape I did was more warm tones, and you know, of course it's not really it doesn't really have a shape or anything, but I look at it and I think of like sand dunes and the scorched earth and things like that because of the colors I chose. Whereas with this, I see this and I think of, you know, of course, water, oceans, things like that. So, you know, I think it's really cool how much colors and temperature affects what you see in an abstract. And it, like, this could be the same exact everything but different colors and you would see a different type of landscape, or if you even see a landscape. So I'm just taking my brush and kind of going through and moving things around a little bit to drop in a little bit of this blue. Move it around. Not even a little bit, that was a lot of bit. I really wish I had a white right now. I'm waiting for my white to show up with my order from Blick. I feel like that would make some of these more pastel and that would be really cool. Maybe I'll do a couple drops. I'm going to avoid the rubbing alcohol this time because last time it you know, repelled, which I think that happens on the same paper you use for alcohol ink, but I don't use it. So, you know, all of this is just fun experimenting for me. And because it's just experimenting, there's no expectations. This definitely calls for salt, in my opinion, because it's, you know, oceany. And have that really salted out. I think what I want to do with this one is let this completely dry and maybe do some mark making on it. I'm trying to decide what I want from this. I mean, this was mostly just experimenting, so I really don't have any high expectations. I'm actually gonna let that flow. I feel like the ring light is giving too much of a, well, then you can't see anything, huh? That's annoying. It's such a reflection, you can't really see what I'm doing. Oh, just got that everywhere. Okay, while this one dries, maybe I will attempt some flowers. I haven't painted flowers in quite a while. Maybe I'll use watercolor for these. Oh, I got ink everywhere. Actually, I think I'm gonna use my Radiant Liquid Watercolors. I decided to turn the ring light off. It's a little bit darker, but maybe when I go to edit, I can brighten it up. It's just, the reflection was blocking what the paintings will look like. So now I'm gonna make some florals. I am using some of my Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid watercolor. And let's see, let me mix these up. They're a little bright. I wanted to dull them down just a little bit. Yeah, that's a little, I do love those colors, but it's not really what I'm going for at the moment. So let me add, what do I want to do here? I added some sepia to the green because this grass green is like incredibly bright. I really like the color of this sunrise pink, so I'm gonna leave that alone. The purple, I added some, maybe I can add a little bit of this to that, the sepia to the purple as well. And then this pink, I think I'm just gonna add a tinge of orange to it to make it less pinky, but this is a pretty bright orange too, so I don't know if that's gonna work. Okay, I have not painted flowers in a very long time and I'm feeling a little intimidated. I'm gonna start with this one right here. Create a petal here. And then I'm gonna drop in a little bit of this sunrise pink. Take a little bit of this green, make some leaves with it. I like color bleeds a lot, obviously, if you've seen any of my work. I like when they bleed into each other, although certain colors when they bleed into each other do make a bit of a muddy mess. Let's see here. Almost looks like a hibiscus without the, you know, yellow stamens in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna do some purple over here. Oh, that's a little too purple. Maybe I will add, it's not really what I'm going for at the moment. Add some of this cherry red to it. Yeah. Oh, that's like a pretty warm violet color. Just gonna add some water to it. That's a little too concentrated. Okay, so let me just put down some petals right here. Oh, that's such a pretty orchid color. I think I'm gonna have it looking that way. My cat looks like she is planning on pouncing on the art table, so let's cross our fingers and hope that she doesn't, because I don't want my stuff to go flying. She stalks me around about an hour before dinner time, hoping that I'll give it to her early. Sometimes I give in. And that's probably why she stalks me, because she knows that I'm weak. So I'm noticing when I drop down color, it doesn't, you know, burst out the way acrylic ink does, but I don't think that's a paper thing. I think that's just the difference between acrylic inks and watercolors. Okay, let's see. I'm going to, oh, I got some of that green in this sunrise pink. Oops. Just gonna fill this in with some fluff. This is not, you know, you're like 3 flowers. You're supposed to do like, you know, do them in 3s and odd numbers, and this doesn't look like that, but that's okay. Probably shouldn't have put this stem here. Again, I haven't painted flowers, I think, since I made that abstract flower video, which was before Christmas. So it's been a really long time. But the great thing about florals is with the right colors, if you throw down some blobs, you know what? Your eye tells you it's a flower. So there you go. I want to add another leaf here. And maybe I will do a little bit more of a purpley one down here. Oh, because I added that sepia, it definitely muted that purple, which looks really pretty. I'm just gonna, I don't care if it touches. Oh, it's a little too muted. Let me throw some of this in there. Well, she looks like a hot mess, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and drop some of this warm pink in there. I really need to use these more often. I've had them for 8 years, 9 years, and whenever I get them out, I have such a good time, but then I put them in my drawer and I forget that they exist for months at a time. Does anyone else do that? I feel like I have the kind of brain where I'm actually gonna mix this purple and green and get a different variation. Maybe some of this too. Oh, I just muddied that pink. Look at that. It was a horrible idea. I have this brain that I want things organized and in their place, right? But then when I do that and they're organized in a drawer, it's very out of sight, out of mind for me, and I forget things exist. So I don't know if anyone else has that issue where I don't want all the clutter on my art desk. I mean, my art desk has plenty of clutter on it already, but it's organized clutter. I want things in drawers, but when I put them in drawers, suddenly my brain forgets they're there. Completely. Object permanence, right? Is that what it is? Oh, goodness. Okay. I think I'm gonna leave that at that. That was fun. I like the way it looks on this paper, actually. And normally I much prefer like cold pressed 100% cotton watercolor paper. I'm usually that gal. But this creates such a unique like edge because of the way it dries. That's different than even when you buy like cellulose watercolor paper. I really like this bleed in here. Some people might hate that. That might just be such a mess, but I actually really like it. And I think when it dries, I can maybe go in and do some detail work. That's kind of my go-to anyway with florals. Like, just let them be a mess. It's okay. We'll go in later and maybe add a few details here and there. Although a good chunk of time I do just like a one layer, no detail, just kind of more, you know, abstract style. So let me see. And dab in some colors. Oh, I'm gonna put some color down at the base of this. Let me know if you guys are interested in these chatty videos. You know, I do a lot of voiceovers mostly because I don't have a quiet home. When I do have a quiet home and my kids aren't running around, I love to do just a chatty video. But yeah, let me know what you prefer. I would love to make videos on subjects and in styles that, you know, obviously you guys like. But a lot of this is because it's a newer channel. I'm just kind of playing around with different topics and different ways of filming and seeing what works for me and my lifestyle and what my viewers like and things like that. So yeah, always give me a heads up in the comments. I love chatting with you guys in the comments. This poor flower. Although the swirling in it with the bleeds, I still kind of love it. I'm gonna be honest. It looks a hot mess, but in a pretty way. Okay, I'm really gonna stop playing with it now. I'm gonna let this dry and then perhaps I'll add detail. I'm not quite sure, but I won't keep you too much longer. So yeah, so far I think this is a really cool, unique paper. I don't think this is going to be my go-to with my watercolors all the time, but it's really fun to change things up. It's fun to get different effects simply from the paper that you're using, like the way it dries. All these layers remind me a lot of like alcohol ink without like the edges here and things like that. You know, they're a little harsher, but I don't say that in a negative way. I say that like in a really cool, like layered effect. And then even here, the way it's drying with the edges, because certain parts have more water, you know, that just adds so much cool detail. And I can even go in later and just do some mark making and make some like cool shapes and make this look more oceanic if I want, or create something else out of it. And then with this floral one with the Radiant Watercolors, I feel like it took really well to this mineral paper. And I kind of love how this looks as well. I kind of love the mess here. And I'm trying to decide if I just want to let it dry and leave it as is, or if I want to add detail to it later. But yeah, I'm not going to, it takes such a while to dry that I'm not gonna stick around. I'm losing daylight here. So anyway, if you guys have tried this mineral paper and you have, you know, thoughts or opinions on it, please let me know. Yeah, thanks for watching. I really had a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me, you know, experiment and play around with, you know, some new supplies. So if you like this and you like my channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you again for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.